Welcome to Outson Stadium, the home for this major Big Ten clash between the Texas Longhorns and the Oregon Ducks. I'm David Roy, and in the booth with me, as always, is the commissioner of the CFSL, Mike Peters. And Mike, a very important game for both teams, not because elimination is at hand, but because a loss means that they need a lot of help to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's very important for both of these two teams to win. Like you said, they are not eliminated with a loss, but they would need a lot of things to go right for them to still make the playoffs. And that would also include wins next week, which also aren't guaranteed. So a win is very pivotal in this matchup, and I expect it's going to be a very close-fought contest because of that.
Well, there you see taking the field Ray Conley for this Texas offense. 3 touchdowns away from tying Jared Totonis all-time in receiving touchdowns as Clayton Denny going to open up in the air, and he will connect with his tight end Carson Meeks to pick up 13 and open up the drive.
Well, Texas has been a little up and down this season. They're coming off a big blowout against Nebraska last week, so they want to get going early and often here.
Denny to throw again, and he will throw that over the head of Taraj Walker. Just a coverage situation there, right, Mike?
Well, he might have panicked a little bit. I don't know that he needed to get rid of it quite so soon, but he did, and but they still have 2 downs to work out of it.
Denny, quick throw on the angle route, and there's Taraj Walker showing a little shake and bake to pick up 14 and move the sticks.
Well, Walker's been very underutilized compared to previous seasons, had less than 600 yards of total offense coming in, has quite a few catches, but they don't give them to him with much yardage.
Blitz coming, quick throw out into the flats. There's Walker, and he will get a measly yard to make it second down.
Well, despite the short yardage going to Taraj Walker, Texas still comes in to this game with both the #1 offense and #1 pass offense in the country.
Denny to throw with time, and that one going to sail out of bounds into the left sideline. Third down upcoming.
Well, that one was a coverage issue there, as the coverage from Oregon was just a little too good, and Denny didn't have anywhere to go with it.
Denny to throw, 4-man rush, taking a shot to the left side, and that pass caught by Ray Conley down to the 14.
Well, there's 3 really good receivers on this team: Scooby Lewis, Ray Conley, and Lord Helix. Conley and Helix came into the league as 4 stars, but they both play well above that. Any of them can beat you, and Conley is the first one to do it.
Well, and you mentioned of those 3 receivers, Ray Conley, the only one to have 10-plus receiving touchdowns in a season. He did that as a sophomore and had 16, and he's on pace to do it again this season as that pass is incomplete.
Well, those 16 touchdowns also tied a CFSL record, and they helped him get within striking distance of the all-time career touchdown leader, which he's only 4 back of.
That pass to the middle, there's Conley, and he'll pick up half the distance needed. Third down upcoming for the Longhorns.
So 4 to break Jared Totonis' all-time career touchdown mark. Now, there's only 2 games left, theoretically, unless Texas gets in the playoffs. I think Conley wants him to get in the playoffs just so he has a chance at the record.
Quick throw there, and it's the tight end Carson Meeks, but he is going to come up a yard short thanks to this Oregon defense.
Well, we see that a lot in this league. Teams throw it short of the marker and expect guys to get that extra yardage, and they don't. And because of that, Texas has to settle for the field goal attempt.
And it's a 22-yarder, but it is good from the right foot of Gunnar Graham. And now the focus shifts to this Oregon offense, and Axton Richardson and Jimmy Tickle looking to lead their offense in a rebound from last week as Bugsy Bates gets a 32-yard return.
Well, they had not quite as much of a difficult time as Nebraska gave Texas, but USC did get the win last week. Oregon, one of the more potent offenses the previous 2 seasons, really hasn't found an identity this season.
Halfback screen and just able to get it off to Tickle. And the first down for Jimmy Tickle, stumbling out of bounds at about the 49, a gain of 17.
Well, that's one of the things that Tickle's done pretty well throughout his career, and they've struggled with it up to this point. So we'll see if maybe they've righted some of the things that were going wrong there. He's had a decent amount of receptions coming in, about 6 a game. Actually, about 8 a game. So they're using him quite a bit, but he's only averaging 5 yards per attempt. They really need to get him going on the ground.
Coming in motion, the receiver defrost, and it's a play fake as Axton Richardson found the fingertips of Terrence Top.
And I think that's just a product of young quarterbacking. You knew where the primary read was. He tried to force it in the coverage. That could have went much more poorly.
Richardson to throw, three-man rush. Floating that to the left sideline. There's DeFrost picking up 15.
Well, we saw Dijon Swan running those routes for 3 seasons here. Now he's in Notre Dame. Saw him in the game before. DeFrost takes his spot and gets the first down there.
This Oregon offense inside the Texas 40 on their opening drive, still looking to score with it. This is a play fake. Richardson running. Throwing at the stiff arm to fight through Howard Cook, and yet he's still a yard short of the first down.
Well, I think this is something they need to do more. Richardson only had 222 yards coming into this game. That was one of the things that Devontae Cribbs, his predecessor, did well, was run the ball. We haven't really seen that from Richardson.
Speed option, Richardson keeping it, fights off Howard Cook, and then he's finally brought down by Zachary White. He picks up 7 as it's a second run of the night for this Oregon offense.
Well, Richardson's not the biggest guy out there. He's only 6'1", 195, but he's got pretty good speed, and he shows it off there.
Well, Tickle's showing some power there as he runs through Hawkins to pick up 6.
And again, this is what they need to do. They need to get Jimmy Tickle more involved. You know, he's coming in with just about 65 yards a game rushing. That needs to be way higher.
Still set, tight end in motion, Max King, blitz coming, and that pass threaded into the hands of Jimmy Tickle for the first down.
Well, Max King was coming across on a drag route underneath and almost wasn't prepared for that one. Fortunately for Oregon, they completed it.
And off Tickle, found a crease, but it closed fairly quickly there as he's held to a 3-yard run. 2nd and goal upcoming here for the Ducks.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing 3 runs here, including at least 1 read option.
We're going to come back out with Richardson under center, and Bugsy Bates going to be the motion man. 5-step drop, Richardson back corner, and incomplete.
So they run a little spot play where they run the slant curl that sits in the zone and then a corner behind it, but it was covered well by Texas, and he's just got to throw it away.
So 3rd and goal from the 5. Play fake, Richardson dancing, throwing to the right sideline. That pass caught, but at the 1 by DeFrost.
How was that not a touchdown? I want to see a review on that. Oregon's going to go for it either way, but I thought that was 6.
So from the half-yard line, goal line set. Richardson to throw, and he finds a tight end, but the Texas defense stands up.
Well, Jace Hawkins gets in there and makes the stop. Again, they throw it short of the marker, and we're never going to know now. Well, I guess we will in the post game if we can look at that play. But I thought that was a touchdown to DeFrost, and Texas gets the big stop.
Well, the Texas got to be careful. They're backed up at the 1. Don't want to take a play backwards. As that's what's happened. Walker, they're going to say he got a yard due to forward progress, but a dangerous run.
Yeah, he should have stayed forward. He tried to go outside and get a big run, probably looking at that 99-yarder. And it winds up just barely getting a yard.
On the 2-yard line, Walker getting the carry. He's going outside the left this time, trying to outrun Kai Brummer, and that does not happen often, held to 4 yards there, but trying to get this Texas offense out of danger.
Well, I think he wants the big 98, 99-yard run, and it's just not there for him. And now he's in a situation where they're on a 3rd and 6 in the shadow of their goalpost.
Denny to throw to the middle of the field. That's a tight end Meeks, and he's not going to come very close to that first down. Picks up 3, and Texas will punt.
Well, and this is why you go for it there on 4th and inches, because you have a very good shot of getting the ball back with field position because it is so tough to operate. The offense has to be pretty predictable so that they don't take a sack and a safety. So they are going to run it, and they're going to play pretty safe, and so you don't risk a whole lot there going for it on 4th and inches.
Well, there was a 10-play drive, too, and so now with the ball spot at the Texas 35, Oregon banking on scoring this time as Bates, the receiver in motion, play fake, and the pressure gets home. Down goes Axton Richardson.
Harvey Bickle with the corner blitz off the edge, lets his receiver go, and he has a straight line. The play fake makes it so Axton Richardson can't see it coming. By the time he does, he's going down, and he's got to do all he can just to hold on to that ball. Excellently dialed up play there for Texas.
Harvey Bickle has been playing, one might say, better than Terrence Top has this season. It certainly shows that on a stat sheet as Richardson floating the angle route there for the walk-on Jonathan Bell, picking up 8 yards.
Well, David, both Bickle and Top have 19 tackles. Top has 2 for loss and 6 passes defensed. Bickle does have 1 interception, but I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that Bickle's outperforming him. I think they're both playing fairly similar. Top's just not having the touchdown or the interception season we're used to.
Overcame Jr. with the catch, getting 11 yards there to try and progress, and Terrence Top still waiting on that interception that he's been waiting for seemingly forever.
Well, now he needs 2. He needed 1 for the record. Now he needs 2 to tie OPP, who is the new all-time interception record holder.
On a run left side, Jimmy Tickle trying to cut back to the inside against Giovanni Cavelli, and he'll still get 6 yards. Might have had a lot more if he could have made Cavelli miss.
Well, and Cavelli just makes a really good open field tackle to bring him down there and not let him cut back inside and get extra yards.
Pistol set. Motion man here is Frost, and there's a decoy for Jimmy Tickle to run it right up the middle and get the first down.
Well, we also had a safety this year. Rick is asking in chat, has there ever been a safety? Auburn had 2 last year. We had 1 earlier this season. We've had probably 4 or 5.
It's not as rare as you might think, as Axton Richardson keeps that one, gets 4 yards, and although what has been rare this season has been overtime games.
Haven't had one of those. Haven't had a punt return for a touchdown since season 1. So those things are definitely more rare. Well, this season at least. There are more overtime games than safeties.
Draw play. Tickle with a crease down to the 1. 3rd and inches.
Well, Texas got the stop on 3rd and inches last time. Or actually 4th and inches. And we'll see. Will Oregon go for it again down 3 if they get stuffed here?
On the field, Richardson to throw. It's a 3-man rush, and Richardson has to step up, but he lets it sail through the back of the end zone. 4th down.
I don't like these options down here by Oregon. They're throwing the ball from the goal line, and it's costing them points, I think.
They're going to try to kick the field goal here with just in case, and that is exactly the scenario where he is called upon to tie things up from 17 yards out.
What have we had more safeties of than existences in regular action?
Punt returns for a touchdown. Obviously, here's a big kick return across midfield, and he will go all the way. Touchdown, Texas.
Scooby Lewis does what Tom Pence did last Friday and what Alistair Jericho did just earlier tonight. We had not seen a kick return for a touchdown until the final day of week number 6, and now we've seen 3 in 3 games. So, again, I mentioned this earlier. I said we hadn't had one all season, and we could have 5 before the end of the season. Well, we've got 3 in 3 straight games.
A 101-yard kick return for a touchdown by Scooby Lewis, and now Oregon on the back foot here, down by 7.
Well, and they've been struggling converting drives into points. They got 3. The positive thing is they've gotten inside the 5 close to their first 2 drives.
Texas brings the blitz and into the face of Jimmy Tickle as he gets back to the line of scrimmage and nothing more.
Zachary White gets in there and gets credit for the tackle, but it's nice to see them go to the run there. I think they need to use it more. I think they need to use more read option too.
Last play of the first quarter, Richardson to throw. Going to take off and run instead. Cuts inside, lowers the shoulder for 1, and he'll pick up 8 yards to set up 3rd and 2. But Texas up by 7 thanks to Scooby Lewis in a big kick return. Can Oregon tie it up? Stick around, find out. You're watching the CFSL on PX1 Sports on YouTube Live. Start of the second. 3rd and 2. Handoff. Tickle gets tripped up short of the line to gain. Hawkins has been a hero for the Longhorns tonight.
Well, he got that stop on 4th and inches down at the goal line, and then he comes up with a stop there on 3rd down. So you're right, Hawkins is having himself a big night early on here for the Longhorns.
Inside the 30 is this punt return. It gets across to about the 39-yard line by Scooby Lewis. And now Texas going to look to add to their lead here and make it a 2-score game.
Well, they're going to try to Notre Dame Oregon like Notre Dame to USC.
3rd drive of the night for the Longhorns is Denny. Quick throw. That pass nearly intercepted off the fingertips of the walk-on.
Yeah, Jay Cooper is going to get some ribbing in the film room next week, especially if they go on to lose this game, because he had at least an interception, if not 6.
Denny to throw to the middle, and that pass caught by Scooby Lewis. He'll pick up 6 yards, make a manageable 3rd and 4.
Now that's what you want to see yourself in, as manageable 3rd downs. Texas has struggled on 3rds much of this season, mostly because they've been of the longer variety. Only 42% coming in.
Denny with a 3-man rush. Standing in. Throwing down the seam. There's Scooby Lewis. And he is down to the 25-yard line.
Well, the surprising thing about Scooby Lewis is although he leads the team in receiving, next to Taraj Walker, he only had 1 touchdown coming in. So he's been the slot guy. He's been a possession guy. They need to go to him more often, especially on 3rd down, and they're finally utilizing him as they do there. And not only is it a first down, it's a big gain.
Yeah, the jarring stat there being that Conley and Helix with 7 touchdowns, Conley with 8, and then Scooby Lewis only the 1, as Denny able to thread that in for Meeks, and he'll get 6 yards.
Meeks has more touchdowns than Scooby Lewis.
And that's surprising too, because Meeks is not often the highly used receiver in this offense, as Denny going to Meeks again here, though, with his 5th catch of the night and a 1st down.
Meeks just said, "The hell you say."
It's definitely been the case tonight so far for him. Texas emptying out the backfield from inside the 15. And Denny with a pump fake, going to come back right. There's Meeks spinning down to the 2.
I got your seldom used tight end right here.
6 catches, 42 yards for him tonight. Clayton Denny, 12 of 16, 132 here so far. But they're going to come out in a goal line set and give it to the fullback, and he's not going to get in.
Some of these teams just outthink themselves. Oregon did it by not running when they got to the goal line. Texas does it by trying to give it to the fullback and not their 4-star halfback. And now it looks like they're going to pass.
On the gun, 2-by-2. Read option keeper, Denny walking in for 6.
Okay, they didn't overthink it this time. They went with the read option. It was a good call. And they get it in there now. Oregon's down 14, and their backs are against the wall a little bit here.
So Oregon at this point, Mike, as you've pointed out, they've had 2 drives end inside the 5-yard line, and only one of them were they able to come away with points, but it was a field goal.
Well, yeah, it was because they got stopped on the 3rd down at the goal line, and it's not great play calling down there. They have a superstar halfback, although he doesn't look like it because they just don't feature him. He's been a superstar before when he started at A&M and even his first season with Oregon, but it seems like the longer he's there, the less they use him.
This season for Jimmy Tickle, by the way, he has only 2 games of over 100 rushing yards, and in those 2 games, when that happens, he has 3 rushing touchdowns, and Oregon would like to see that kind of success from him tonight as he gets 6 yards with that carry.
I mean, he's been a huge performer in this league. He went over 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns his first 2 seasons in the league, and then 720 last season, only 406 coming into this game. Oregon's just not utilizing him well.
Quick throw over the middle, and there's Wilbur King Jr. picking up 13 with his 2nd grab.
By the way, coming into this game, Jimmy Tickle's career yards per carry was 5.7, mostly because he went 6.1 and 6.4 in his first 2 seasons.
He's been a bell cow for this offense in previous seasons as Richardson gets sacked for a loss of 2.
Well, and he also averaged 65 catches those first 2 seasons too, so he was an all-around back.
Yeah.
And, for whatever reason, Oregon has de-emphasized him in their offense.
Jimmy Tickle is what you might have considered an every down back as he runs through the first man and then still picks up the first down. A 13-yard run by Tickle.
Well, this is why Jimmy Tickle is considered one of the best running backs in the league his first 2 seasons, is because he could make plays like that. You give him the ball, and he will make plays.
Tight end Max King in motion to set up a 2-by-2 look, and Richardson to throw. Going to take off and run himself, and he's only going to get a couple.
Yeah, he went from averaging 20 carries his first season down to 19 his second season, which was the first with Oregon. And then this season coming in, he was only averaging about 14 carries a game.
It's crazy, and he's not getting a lot on that carry. Stopped right at the line of scrimmage and putting Axon Richardson in a long 3rd and 9.
And that's the part of it, too, is they're not really scared of it. They're not using the read option. The read option those first couple seasons what really made him effective, and they just haven't been using him.
Well, they try to use him on the halfback screen, and that gets put to rest pretty quickly by Zachary White out there.
Well, they tried to go to it early on, and it was working. They try to go back to it here on 3rd down. I like it more on a 1st or 2nd down if you think they're going to blitz. 3rd down, sometimes it gets a little bit overused. Obviously, they were expecting some kind of pressure there, hoping Tickle could make something happen. Texas just played it too well.
Actually, Terrence Top, who came downhill and made that stop, but Oregon forced to give it back to the Texas offense again as that punt bouncing through the back of the end zone. So out come the Longhorns, up by 14, and Mike, the way the offense is clicking, they can add to that with this drive.
Well, this is eerily similar to the way that game earlier tonight started out.
Denny to throw, taking a shot down the right side. There's Helix. That's a first down out to about the 45-yard line of the Longhorns.
Well, right now, Denny's finding a lot of open receivers, a lot of open space with which to work. We talked about it earlier this season that Denny, coming out was one of the more prolific passers we've ever seen in his first 2 and even his first 4 games in the league. He's been over 400 4 times already in his freshman season. He's on pace for another one of those nights.
Just a quick throw for Carson Meeks. And you point out Denny, the other aspect too, he's only had 1 game this season where he's put up less than 300 yards passing. He's yet to have a game with less than 2 touchdown passes. The other thing he's waiting on is to have a game where he doesn't throw an interception, and he won't there as he finds Meeks for 8.
Well, that's the one knock on him, if you can have one, is that he has turned the ball over a little bit more than you'd like. 10 interceptions in his first 6 games. You definitely don't love that, but he does have 18 touchdowns to counter it, and he had almost 2,500 yards coming in. So he's prolific as a thrower. He's definitely going to cut down on his mistakes, though.
Well, and he has been cutting down through the first half of the season. He threw multiple. As here's a shot for the end zone. That pass batted away by Jalen Smith. It's 2nd and 10. But again, he cut down on it from the first half of the season to the second half because over the last 3 games, he's put up 1 interception a game.
Right, and he had 7 in those first 3 games. But, it's still throws like that he makes where he underthrows it. And if he throws it a little bit further out in front, it could be 6. If he throws it to the left, they don't get their hand on it.
This one is an overthrow and a 3rd and 10 situation for the Longhorns. 4 wide, trips top the screen. Denny, quick throw to the middle of the field. He connects with Helix, but it's only picking up 6 yards, and they need a 10.
Well, another shot or a little throw short of the marker there. I don't love it, but they are in field goal range, and they seem content to settle on the 52-yard attempt.
Gunnar Graham, and Graham delivers to make it 20 to 3.
Well, now they got a 17-point lead, and Oregon, who's been struggling on offense at least most of this game. They have gotten inside or down to the goal line twice and only come away with 3 points, but their confidence has to be affected a little bit. Being down 17, it's not going to make anything easier, and they haven't run the ball super effective already. And now Texas is going to be expecting the pass, you have to think.
So the ball comes out to the 22, and we will see if the Ducks really do throw into this Texas defense as you expect, although they're going to open up with a draw play, and Jimmy Tickle finding some success with that. He'll get 6 yards.
Well, it's good to keep using the run so they keep them off balance. I just don't think they're going to have as much space throwing the ball as you would expect, because you got to expect that Texas thinks it's coming.
11 carries, 51 yards for Tickle. They're going to run it again. Read option keeper, and Richardson with some blocking out in front. Going to help him work his way down to the 42.
Well, this might actually work in Oregon's favor. If they are going to feature the run game more, knowing that Texas thinks they're going to pass, then they might actually be able to put together some longer drives and get some yardage from that run game, which could keep the Texas defense off balance. So this is actually pretty smart, just not what I expected them to do based on the first quarter.
43-yard line, and Richardson going to take off and run, and he will slide as Oregon takes a timeout.
Early timeout there. I don't really like using those timeouts till under a minute and a half, maybe even under a minute, but they are giving themselves plenty of time to move downfield.
Richardson dancing in the pocket, throwing across his body, and he'll find Bugsy Bates tiptoeing on the sideline to get 12.
Well, not only was it a great route, but it was a great catch on the sideline there by the five-star freshman. Bates looking good in his debut season.
His first catch of the night as it's an empty backfield, and Richardson going to come back to that left side. This time it's Wilbur King Jr. who gets the catch.
Well, it's kind of hard for any of these receivers really to stand out outside of Frost, who has kind of been the leader. And you just have, with Bates, King, and King, the two Kings out there, it's just hard. There's a lot of good receivers to spread the ball to.
Jimmy Tickle going to get the carry. He gets 8 yards. And Mike, how much does that sort of success play into the fact that Richardson is a freshman?
Some of it, I'm sure. It definitely plays in. 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions coming in. A lot of that you got to suspect is being a freshman.
Richardson going to take off and run there. The coverage downfield pretty well, and so he's going to lower that helmet and pick up 4.
Well, they're still staying with a diverse game plan, and surprisingly, they're moving the ball about as well as they have all night.
Richardson breaks 1, breaks 2, but then caught by Mike Merrill as the Ducks take their second.
Well, it's 3rd and 4 here. You still can run it, but you're a little bit more risky if you do.
And the pistol. Blitz coming as Richardson is going to try to tuck it and run, but gets caught up on his guard, and he will be ruled as a sack for a loss of 3 by Zachary White.
Well, and I think this is another one of those things that plays into the youth of Axton Richardson is he's a little too quick on the draw there to take off and runs into his line. I think he never really gave his receivers a shot at getting open. And I think that is definitely a byproduct of his youth that he'll fix as he gets a little bit more mature.
So Oregon is going to let the clock run down on this opening half as much as they can. Snap it going to be close to about 10 seconds on the clock. Just in case.
Well, just in case you were worried that Oregon had a field goal kicker, they do.
They do indeed. This one from 40 yards out and from the right hash, and just in case, puts it through to make it a 14-point game.
Just in case, the name of the kicker, not just in case they put it through, right?
Right.
Just in case you were wondering. The kicker's name is just in case.
Yes. You got it.
I was talking to the people that are listening, David.
Okay. Scooby Lewis, decent return here. Gets out to the 32. 7 seconds on the clock. Mike, if you're Denny, do you load up and throw it?
Probably. Well, maybe from here. Looks like they're going to.
Halfback screen, left side. Taraj Walker with a convoy in front of him. Gets him close to midfield. He's out of bounds. Gain of 18 and then a second left. Or Texas takes a timeout.
Well, they got some room to try to complete this Hail Mary now.
Leighton Denny going to show off that arm here. Steps up, a long ball, way too far out in front for any of his receivers to get underneath that. And so at half, Texas taking a 14-point lead into their locker room as Oregon in front of their home fans trailing and looking, Mike, as they go in to make some adjustments to try and rectify that situation.
Well, I think they got a little bit of momentum going with the run game at the end of that half, and I think that's going to be pivotal for them. They got to shut down the Texas offense, which they haven't been able to do very well. But the biggest thing was just the struggles that they've had on offense. As Texas's defense has been a little bit too much for them. Obviously, the kick return touchdown by Scooby Lewis didn't help them much. But, they're still in this thing. 14 is not a giant deficit to overcome. I mean, that's overcome, easily able to be overcome in one quarter, but they just have to show more consistency on offense and defense.
You look at the two offenses, Oregon has nearly had the ball for 4 minutes more than what Texas has, and Texas, obviously, no surprise, are really airing it out over, 105 yards more than what Oregon has put up through the air. Oregon, on the meanwhile, a commitment to the ground game tonight, 106 total yards on the ground for the Ducks.
Well, I don't know if it's been a full-on commitment. It's been kind of sporadic, and some of it has been scrambles. But yes, definitely more so than we've seen before. But a lot of it either came early in the first quarter or late in the second, and they kind of abandoned it in the middle, and it led to some of their struggles.
Front row O'Neal in the end zone. We will take this moment to remind everybody of the fact that this game is very important, not because either of these teams can be eliminated tonight, but mainly because a loss puts them in dire straits to make the playoffs. They need a lot of help for that to be the case.
Yeah, very big game. And Cope asks in there if USC can get in, and yes, they can. We've covered it on the podcast and also at the end of the other game. There's also a article up on the website, so lots of places to find the various scenarios.
As Jimmy Tickle going to pick up 4 yards with his second carry of the half here.
Well, they're staying committed to the run game, like you said, and as long as, right now it wouldn't be the worst thing to see a read option, although I don't expect one out of this formation.
Single back set, handoff, Tickle, gets stood up. No, he got the first down, forward progress.
Well, and, that's not the worst thing in the world. They barely got it, but they are really showing a commitment to this game, which we talked about earlier. And so now it could possibly open up the pass game, which has also been struggling tonight.
Gun. Play fake. Richardson, quick throw, but off the fingertips of Wilbur King Jr.
Fortunately, it was a first down, but you definitely need to come down with those. And Wilbur King might not get featured as much with all the talent that they have at receiver.
Richardson to throw here. Blitz coming, and he's going to try to run through it, and he'll find the space to do so, picking up 9 yards on the scramble.
Well, and that time he does a good job of avoiding his offensive line, which hasn't been necessarily the case tonight. And gets the good 9-yard run, and now they have a lot of options, although Texas looks like they're bringing the blitz.
King motion to the left side. Speed option that same side. Tickle off the pitch. Has blocking. And a foot race down the left sideline and dragged down at the 27 by Tate.
So there's a lot of things to unpack on that play. The first thing, they moved the tight end over there, which helps picks up the blitz. Second thing is Bugsy Bates gets a pancake there, but then doesn't pick up this defender coming in. If he picks up Meeks there, Tickle has a touchdown. So he gets one good block, but then I don't know what he was thinking on the second one. Might have took points off the board for Oregon.
Still set. Richardson pumps right, going to take off and run through the defense as he lowers that shoulder to get 9 yards on that carry.
Well, Richardson being a little bit more patient there as he pump fakes and tries to find somebody open, and then he takes off versus taking a quick look and then immediately scrambling.
Chase Hawkins, the 3-star linebacker for Texas, 8 tackles tonight as there's another speed option pitch. Ball is free, and Oregon able to recover.
Well, Randall Meeks must still be thinking he's chasing Dong on the previous play because he has a scoop and score, a fumble 6, sitting there and waiting for him, and he dives to the side of the ball, and Oregon recovers.
3rd and 1. Pistol set for the Ducks. Ball spotted at about the 17-yard line here. Handoff, Tickle up the middle and down inside the 10, picking up 9 as he's up over 100 yards here tonight.
Well, it's good to see, and even though they fell behind 14, they got an opportunity to make this a 7-point game, and they've established the run game.
Tickle running the inside here. He'll get a yard this time as the jerseys of white converge upon him.
19 carries already for Tickle. This is the drive they featured him more than any other. And, look at the success that they are having.
Just a full house. Handoff. to the walk-on. He loses a ball, and the Texas defense will recover it.
Well, unfortunately, this is not abnormal for this season, but Oregon doing a lot of things to shoot themselves in the foot, as they have all season. They had a dangerous pitch there by Richardson, which they got away with, but then got hit and fumbled it. And now they try to go to the halfback, or the backup, which actually didn't look like a bad idea, but then he fumbles, and everything just not really going Oregon's way.
Howard Cook forced both of the fumbles, and the Randall Meeks recovered it the second time around, which he missed the first time, as Daraj Walker gets 8 yards to open up the drive for the Longhorns.
Well, the two forced fumbles on one drive is kind of like the forced strikeout inning in baseball. You don't see it very often, but it's impressive when you do.
We'll throw there for Carson Meeks, the tight end. He'll get 13 off the arm of Clayton Denny.
Well, at this rate, Carson Meeks is going to match his season total for receptions in this game.
Empty backfield. Denny with a 3-man rush with time. And he's forced to come short here for Meeks again, picking up 7 with that catch.
David isn't catching on to my jokes on this game, and it's very frustrating to me. Meeks actually has 34 catches, so that would be a record if he was able to get that. But having 9 at this point is pretty good.
Empty backfield here, 4-man rush. Denny to the sideline. Lewis able to keep the feet in, but it's 3rd and short.
Yeah, Scooby Lewis doing his best J-Mo impression on that pass.
Or wide. Denny throwing to the right sideline, and there's Meeks pulling off for a gain of 5.
I think Meeks heard a lot about Max King coming into this week, although King only had 7 more receptions and less yardage, but he feels a little bit like they're bound and determined to prove that Meeks is better than King.
Denny throwing it, and Scooby Lewis had to come back into traffic there, and he'll get 7 with the grab, as it's 2nd and 3 now.
Texas also seems bound and determined to prove that Scooby Lewis is the best fast receiver that they've ever seen in the slot.
Empty backfield here. Denny with a 3-man rush, taking a shot to the right sideline. That pass caught, and Ray Conley will score.
Conley 2 touchdowns now away from tying Jarrett Tatonis for the most in a career all-time. He beats the coverage deep on the outside, in Texas in danger of pulling away in this one.
Up until that point on that drive, Mike, I mean, they were playing it pretty close to a line of scrimmage, pretty safe, intermediate, and then they load up for the 53-yard bomb.
Well, and they've just been very diverse in their play calling. Everybody knows that they're going to throw the ball around, except for apparently Oregon.
Texas has taken a 21-point lead over the Ducks. Mike, what does Oregon have to do with the time they have left? 3.5 minutes to go in the third.
Well, the downside of letting that touchdown in there is the threat of the run isn't as big as it was before. Holy cow.
Howard Cook lights up Jimmy Tickle. Like you said, the threat of the run is not as great, and Howard Cook saying, yeah, I don't feel threatened.
No, I don't think they feel threatened by anything right now. If anything, these Oregon players should feel threatened, and considering that they're on the West Coast, there's probably a safe space for them to go to after this game.
Well, Jimmy Tickle's going to need an ice bath after this because he's taking a punishment, and so is Richardson. Howard Cook is on a mission to make the lives of the Ducks miserable.
Well, he also seems to be on a mission to be the first player ever to force 3 fumbles in one game.
That would be a single game record for sure. Axon Richardson on 3rd and 7. Halfback screen, right side. Can't get set up, so he's going to spin out of trouble and run. And Richardson gets led up by Howard Cook yet again.
Well, he does a great job running there. He shows a lot of vision and speed. He ran away from everybody but the one guy he really needed to.
Oh, man, Howard Cook is on a whack mission, as it is pointed out in the live chat, as Scooby Lewis gets a decent return. We'll take this time to give a shout out to everybody in the live chat, by the way. Howard Cook, Allie, Lord Helix, Georgia fans, Squiddy, Terrence Top, Hunter Lewis, Flaming Fist, Andy Richardson, Allen, Austin, Frosty, Cope, Dong, And any Jacob Schneider or Pat Snyder, anybody else I might have missed, I do apologize. That pass broken up.
The linebacker of all people, Griffin Richardson, gets over there and gets his hands on it. When you got a guy open like that, you either threw that too early, which is what I think it did, or you didn't put enough air under it, which was also probably part of that.
Denny threads that one in. There's Helix across midfield and pushed out of bounds down at about the Oregon 43.
Well, the interesting thing is with Texas, you have an opportunity in this game to have Conley tie the all-time record. Do you keep throwing it and try to get another touchdown here and find Conley and then try to get one more in the fourth quarter, or do you just play it safe and take the win and try to move ever closer to making the playoffs?
See what path they go. So they'll go read option here, and Denny gets 3 yards on the carry. Not much more than that.
Well, I don't know if that really said a whole lot, although you don't typically see a whole lot of multiple shots deep, although we did see that one earlier this season where they went deep on 3 consecutive passes.
It works out for him. Usually when you got Denny.
I feel like that was against Ohio State. Was that LSU? Who was that?
I think it was LSU. That one was a shootout all the way. That was the one where Denny put up 500 passing yards. By the way, as Conley gets a catch here for a first down.
Well, they need to get into the touchdown if they want to have a record holder to go with their team hardware.
Because they need more hardware for their shelves.
Well, they're not getting a lot of W's for hardware, so they need the other ones where they can find them.
The wide receiver screen there didn't quite work out the way they drew it up.
You know, when you come in and you make excuses for your losses against my team, this is what you get.
I shouldn't laugh, but I am. Halfback screen, Taraj Walker. Gone outside of the right there, out to the 25, and so it's a 3rd and 5 situation now for the Longhorns.
Well, it'd be nice to see a pass to Conley, although a angle route out of the backfield to Taraj Walker would make sense, although he is lined up on the line of scrimmage.
Empty backfield. Denny with a 4-man rush. Wants the end zone back in the corner, and that's Lord Helix.
Well, the touchdown vulture takes it away from Conley, as that is some serious momentum. He spiked that so hard that it bounced 40 yards back the other way. Somebody test that man for steroids. Allie just doesn't know what she just said in chat. I'm going to leave that for you guys to point out to her.
Oh, man. Gunnar Graham puts that through.
I don't want any part of that award, by the way.
Oregon's going to have to try and make a comeback here. But I didn't know. There was something that you said that I didn't know that we had. We can have touchdown vultures in the receiving game?
Well, and you got a receiver that's trying to go for a record, yes. Howard Cook is still bound and determined to get the 3rd forced fumble of his game.
He is a man on a mission. 10 tackles for Howard Cook, by the way, to go with 2 forced fumbles. Draw play, and that one very much blown up. It's a loss of 4. Jace Hawkins getting credit with his 9th tackle.
Hawkins is having himself a nice game too, but he unfortunately right now he's in the shadow of Howard Cook. And you asked me after the last game, what can somebody do to unseat Alistair Jericho as the favorite? I would say 3 forced fumbles might do it.
I would think that would help. I think that'd be a good case. Into the 3rd quarter, and Oregon more than likely going to punt as we come back on the other side of that as they trail to Texas 34-6. You're watching the CFSL on PX1 Sports on YouTube Live. Oregon will indeed bring out their punting unit, and we'll see whether or not they punt it, or if they decide to fake it, they will. And with that boot, Scooby Lewis is going to try to bring this one out to the 40, and still working his way out close to midfield there. It's a 16-yard return.
You could say that he whacked the Oregon special teams there.
You could say that. I don't know that it fits quite as well.
Sure it does. They've been talking about whacking in chat for like the past 20 minutes.
That's because Howard Cook's having a big night.
Pay attention, David.
He is the engineer of the whack train.
Nuance, David. Nuance.
From the 49-yard line. Clayton Denny. Wide receiver screen for Scooby Lewis. And he's going to pick up 9. Oh, actually, no, Ray Conley with that one, by the way.
Yeah, there is only one number 81, and it is Ray Conley on Texas.
It is indeed, yes. It's getting to be, after dark for my side of things. So, Taraj Walker stood up, turned around, however you want to phrase it, but then Bryson Gallo came in to finish the job. Still got the first down, though, by the way.
I'm still waiting for you to ask me how 2 games with so much meaning to them turn out like this.
I don't have an answer to that.
Well, I know. I thought you were going to ask me, but now I don't want to answer the question because I had to come up with it on my own.
Quarterback draw, Clayton Denny, and he gets 3 yards. And Mike, at this point, I mean, are we going to see Ray Conley get another touchdown catch, or are they just going to run it?
Well, I mean, at this point, he's not going to get 2 more, so maybe they're saving the best for last. Maybe he's going to get 2 next week. Maybe he'll get 3 next week against USC to not only knock USC out of the playoffs, but most likely, but then maybe they set a record in the same game. Texas is all about awards. So, in recognition. So, they're probably saving a little bit for next week.
Pistol set. Quick throw. That pass caught, and Carson Meeks gets 12. So, CFSL action continues, and as big as these games have been tonight, Mike, arguably tomorrow night's a little bit bigger. Florida and Alabama take place over on Twitch.
I think they're all pretty equally important at this point, as there's, pretty much playoff spots in every game this week. Tomorrow's really no different. Florida is playing to try to keep themselves alive. Alabama's still playing for a chance at the title.
Denny to throw, dancing, and he has to throw it away. So 3rd and 1 upcoming for Texas, as we might have been hopeful that Conley would have been the target. On the gun, 2 tight ends on the field, both to the right. Speed option, the pitch, Taraj Walker, down inside the 10. Still technically a live play. He'll get 4 yards with that carry.
Well, they're staying committed to using Taraj Walker, which is good. And at this point, you're just trying to run out some clock while also maybe throwing a touchdown pass to Ray Conley, who's at the bottom of the screen.
Denny throwing to the right side. There's Taraj Walker, a little swing route there. He's only going to get a yard. It's 2nd and goal. But, Mike, at this point, what does Oregon have to take away for next week in order to be able to stay alive in the playoffs?
Why are you out? You know the answer to that question. So why would you set me up like that?
It's a softball down the middle of the plate.
No, it's not. That thing is a curveball that's collided with a slider and then blended with a screwball and then topped with a knuckleball.
So, for clarification, Mike and I talked about the playoff situation for Texas and Oregon before this game, and it is a mess. Regardless of whoever lost this game, that to be able to get into the playoffs, it's a mess.
Oregon is not out of it
right
with a loss here, but the amount of things that have to go right are that list is lengthy.
It's a tall list.
Yes.
It is a long and tall list and very unlikely. Although they do get a stop, and they're going to force Texas to kick a field goal here. So, moral victory at this point.
Well, they're only down 31. So, yes. It could have been 34 or 35.
It could have been. So
if you're one of those moral victory guys, then yes, you would be correct.
Sure. So at this point, Mike, because we've kind of talked about it a little bit tonight.
If you ask me any more scenario questions, I'm literally gonna reach across the table and choke you.
No. It's a little bit different. It's just the Big Ten this season it just feels so much more different. It's Jimmy Tickle, a big play there to get out to midfield. It's a 25-yard play. But the Big Ten, just as a whole, it just feels different than it has in seasons past. Is that because of the addition of Texas to the Big Ten, or is there something else at play?
I think it's both conferences, really. I think it's just the league in general. I think Nebraska really shook things up in the Big Ten, and then obviously you have Texas being added as well. So that definitely, and then Ohio State coming back to the mean. All three of those things played in to the Big Ten, but I mean, overall, you look at the other side, you have Florida, who was bottom of the SEC last year, who is now if you go by overall record, they would be number 2 in the SEC, along with 2 new teams in LSU and Florida State. I think, and then Clemson, falling and going the opposite way. Excuse me, it's just the parity in the league that we have right now. I don't think there's an easy out like we've had for many seasons. Even Nebraska was thought of as one of those teams, as was Florida to some degree. And we just don't really have that anymore. And so I think you're going to see this more and more going forward, in that there's going to be a season where a Clemson or Michigan is down, and then all of a sudden next season you might see Miami or Clemson and Michigan and Ohio State competing again. It's just, I think we're finally starting to find the parity that we've been looking for the first 7 seasons.
It's interesting to point out, too, because we talk about the shakeup at the conferences. In both conferences, for the first time over the last few seasons, will both have different conference champions than what they've had over the last 2, because Texas obviously can't win the SEC. They really in a difficult spot. They need a little bit of help to win the Big Ten. And then the SEC in and of itself, Auburn, Alabama, LSU, all still at play.
Well, moving Texas took care of half of that equation, but then OSU having the struggles that they had really finished it off. I think most people expected that going into the season, that there was going to be a new conference champion in each of those conferences. A lot of people thought that it would probably be Texas or USC. I don't think anybody thought that it might be Nebraska, who we'll see later this week, and who has an opportunity, if they win out, to win their first conference title. And really, if we would put out a futures bet on that before the season started, I don't think anybody would have taken it, regardless of the odds we put on it. And now that's a very real possibility. So that in and of itself has shaken a lot of things. And then Florida coming out and going neck and neck with Auburn for the first few weeks of the season was something a lot of people didn't expect either.
To point out, too, you talk about Nebraska. Nebraska has the easiest path of any of the teams to win the Big Ten. All they have to do is just keep winning games, and finding ways to do that is just as Oregon finds.
I wouldn't say it's the easiest path. It's the most direct path.
I'll put that. Sure.
They control their own destiny. Oh, my goodness. Howard Cook now has 15 tackles to go with his 2 forced fumbles.
Yeah, he's going to be in Defensive Player of the Week conversation with Alistair Jericho. And Mike, if tonight is any indicator, we might have an extensive list for Defensive Player of the Week.
Well, it happens every week. We see a big performance on Monday night, and then undoubtedly we get 2 or 3 more throughout the week, and we never have the one guy run away with it that we thought. However, we have seen some people steal it late in the week, but we've never, that I can remember, seen one guy come out and win it on Monday and then hold on to it all week.
I think coming into this, we thought the favorite was going to be Alistair Jericho, and Howard Cook has made that interesting. It's Axton Richardson runs that one in for a touchdown here tonight. The first touchdown by the Oregon Ducks comes with 2:13 left in the 4th.
Well, it's not that I was cheering against Oregon, but I saw Howard Cook chasing him, and I kind of wanted him to punch it out.
Just to make things more interesting in the voting between Defensive Player of the Week.
Of course. I'm an agent of chaos, remember.
Yes, we saw that earlier tonight.
You definitely felt that.
I felt that one, for sure. Oregon's going to go for the onside kick here because they're down by 24. And what a long kick that is.
Well, much like Oregon has done all night, they haven't really been committed to any one thing.
I think that's the worst onside kick we've seen.
Well, they lined up for the onside kick, but they weren't quite sure they really wanted to do it. And so they were like, well, let's kick it 30 yards downfield and see what happens.
I take it back. That is not, because we have seen, I keep forgetting that Buchanan Simons had a onside kick that he recovered and ran for a touchdown.
I'd rather forget that. I still want to believe that it was Michael McKenzie.
Oh, Clayton Denny and company looking to just salt this one away, and they're going to feature Raj Walker.
I thought you were going to say pour salt in their wound. I'm like, you're just opening it up and grinding it. Like David's getting out the cheese grater. We're like, oh, that hurts? Yeah, let me give it some more.
So tomorrow night, Jeff and T. Smith will be on the call for Florida and Alabama.
Have we confirmed that? I mean, it's supposed to be, but I haven't heard from those guys in a while.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
We might want to check to make sure that they're all
I was just going off the schedule that we laid out.
Yeah, haven't contracted the corona.
That's true. Either way, tomorrow night, somebody will be on the call for Florida and Alabama over on Twitch.
Presumably. Nobody expected that the world was going to get shut down for 6 weeks, so let's hope everything goes as planned tomorrow.
Denny, short throw here, and Lord Helix, a little stat padding for Clayton Denny tonight, who has not thrown quite for 300 yards.
Jeff says, sorry, I'm doing stuff on the PS3. Does that mean he's not going to broadcast tomorrow? Because I didn't like pick up the phone and call him. I mean, if you're doing stuff on the PS3 right now, that's okay. If you're doing stuff on the PS3 tomorrow, you can kiss your spot as a broadcaster goodbye. But
I'll call tomorrow night's game.
I know you will. And that's why Jeff has to be very careful of how he responds to me right now.
I said 300 yards. I meant 400 yards for Clayton Denny. He's got 393 passing tonight.
Well, he still doesn't clarify. He says, no, I am.
He is what? Doing stuff on the PS3 tomorrow night? Or on the call?
The kids today, man, they don't understand how to use complete sentences. Texting has become so difficult, apparently, that they have to minimize the words that they use, and they can't be relied upon to put together complete formed sentences through the magic of text messaging.
For simple people. But Texas put together a complete game tonight.
Yeah, they did. And Oregon did not, all the way down to the final onside kick.
Well, Oregon is going to need a lot of work and a lot of help if they have any hope of making the playoffs. Texas, on the other hand, they got to be feeling pretty good about their odds right now. That'll do it for us here from Allenson Stadium. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time over on Twitch, Florida.
No, YouTube.
Over on YouTube.
Twitch has lost its privileges for the meantime.
So we'll be back on YouTube tomorrow night for Florida and Alabama at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here on YouTube Live as Texas gets a win 37-13. For Mike, I'm David. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.